Welcome to European Railway issue number 89, the DVD magazine for the continental enthusiast. In this programme, we have the second part of our feature looking at the main rail line in southern Switzerland between Lugano and Chiasso. We travel to Germany to look at diesel and steam operations in the Harz Mountains. It's the Netherlands next, with a last look at Class 1700s at work, as well as other train types with an uncertain future. The line between Rouen and Le Havre in northern France is next. We also include endangered BB 15,000 electrics, which also operate on the route. And finally we return to Switzerland, as we conclude the programme with scenes around the freight yards at Chiasso. The first section of this programme comes from Switzerland and is the second part of our feature on the main rail route between Lugano to Chiasso in the extreme south of the country. This map shows the main locations visited in both sections of this feature. We take away those filming spots already visited, with those yet to come remaining on our map. We start in the north at Capolago, close to Lake Lugano, before moving south past Mendrisio and finishing off around the rail yards at Chiasso. These are the locations chosen in and around Chiasso. We begin on the main route south of Lugano, on the southern edge of the 271 metre deep Lake Lugano at Capolago. The view across the lake shows in the middle distance the San Salvatore mountain, just south of Lugano, some 15 kilometres away from our camera position. The line here travels along the eastern side of the lake, where our first train comes into view, a Class 524 unit, number 109, on a service to Chiasso. Most of the mixed freight trains seen along the Gotthard Route travel between Basel and Chiasso. Some of these are in the hands of DB Cargo Class 185s, with most trains originating from and to Mannheim or Basel itself. Here we have 185105 and 185134. The 1457 local service for Bellinzona is one of the hourly departures from the local station. The unit, number 524109, returning north, is overtaken by a brace of Class 610 intercity train sets, led by 610107. The service is the 1310 from Milano to Zurich. Class 500 intercity unit number 500,009 is seen returning from Chiasso after servicing. The train is running empty to Lugano, where it will form the 1604 departure for Zurich. (610.018) and 007 are paired up on the 1310 from Zurich to Milano. The total journey time for this train is 3 hours and 40 minutes, with just over an hour left before arrival at Milano. We now move south just over 4 kilometres to the junction station at Mendrisio, shown here on our map. Approaching from the south is unit number 524012 on a local service from Varese. It was followed by 524003 on a service from Chiasso. At the south end of the station is the Preservation Club San Gottardo, which has an aim of preserving rolling stock formerly used in the area. The group had originally intended to open the line to Stabio, a plan which was overtaken by the complete rebuilding of this line for commuter trains to and from Varese in Italy a couple of years back. 524-105 heads south with a train for Chiasso. 524012 heads back to Varese as two Class 185s, numbers 088 and 097, arrive with a southbound freight. Not long afterwards, 610110 heads south with the 1310 from Zurich to Milano. We're on the outskirts of Chiasso now, and our map shows the various filming locations used during our stay. We begin at the location shown in the top left-hand corner of our map, right next to the motorway. This spot is just north of Bellerna, where we see Class 500 train sets numbers 005 and 015 running empty to Lugano. (11662) and 11339 surprised us a little on this southbound intermodal. Also serviced in the Chiasso area are some of the Lugano to Basel intercity services powered by Class 460s. This is train IC 684, powered at the rear by 460 054. During our visit, new Stadler Class 501 train sets were undergoing driver training. On this occasion we see 501005. From above the station at Bellerna, we see this pair of Class 185s heading north. On the right of the curve you can see the single track freight line that gives access to Chiasso Yard. The line bores under the hill we are standing on before curving west underneath the two tracks on our left. Lorries are seen queuing on the nearby motorway in order to clear customs. An unidentified Class 460 heads south for servicing at Chiasso. Following along behind are one of a number of Class 9174 fire and rescue units, seen on a maintenance run to and from Chiasso. The main freight yard in Chiasso is difficult to access, with the only real photographic locations found on the western access lines, which swing north around into the yard, located slightly to the east. Heading towards the camera is DB Italia Vectron, number 191020. The loco belongs to Unicredit Leasing, which is based in Hamburg, and is on long-term loan to DB Cargo Italia. The loco entered service on the 10th of February 2017 and is one of 8 such locos currently on hire to DB in Italy. The date is the 11th of July 2018. Following the Vectron out of the yard is ES64F4 number 037, belonging to the Class 189 family. Another Vectron, this time number 191019, arrives with empty car ticks. We will leave Switzerland now and will return to this spot later on in the programme. It's off to Germany now, and a look at the Harz narrow gauge railway at Wernigerode. This largely steam-operated railway is a popular tourist line and attracts thousands of visitors each year. Also called the Harzer Schmalspurbahnen, or HSB for short, it operates on over 140 kilometres of track. We will journey south from Wernigerode through Hassarode, then towards the junction at Drei Annenhöhe before travelling up to the summit at the Brocken, calling at a number of locations on the way down to the station at Chiasso. We begin at Wernigerode early on the morning of the 2nd of June 2019, as 189872 comes off the depot at the beginning of the day's shunting movements. The railway owns 6 of these former DR standard gauge Class 110 diesels, which have had new Coco meter gauge bogies added, replacing the standard gauge originals. Single rail car 187016 departs with the first train of the day, the 0725 to Nordhausen. These vehicles were built by DB at Halberstadt in 1999. There is 1 prototype and 4 production models operated by the railway. "997232 is one of 18 210-2 tank locos that belong to the railway. Built in 1954, around 7 or 8 are needed for current day operations. Others are at museums or under periodic overhaul. Locos typically weigh around 65 tons and have a maximum speed of 40 km per hour. Their design is reflected in the need to haul 7 to 9 coach trains up the steep climb to the Brocken mountain, where most services head. The loco is given a top-up of water, a quick look over, some axle grease, before it is time to fill the bunker with new coal. The stock for the first steam departure of the day is pushed into the platforms by 189872. Next out of the shed is 997247. The line, part of a network built between 1847 and 1899, became part of the Deutsche Reichsbahn from the 1st of April 1949 under the Soviet zone of occupation, following World War II. Little investment in the system was made throughout the period up until the early 1990s, and thus the line's steam locomotives were kept in operation. This had the good fortune of effectively presenting a ready-to-run preserved railway when the private HSB was formed in February 1993, a few years after German reunification. And the rest is history, to quote a well-known phrase. To the south of the town, the line crosses this busy road junction. Here we have number 7232 with the 0855 Wernigerode to Brocken. Trains depart Wernigerode every 45 minutes during the first part of the morning. Next up, passing through the suburbs of Hasserode, is number 7247. This is the station at Wernigerode, as 99234, the loco retains its former DR number, enters at the head of the 1025 from Wernigerode to the line's summit at Brocken. The date is the 2nd of June 2019. The same train is seen in the forested section, on the way up towards the junction at Zwolle. We now move south once more to cover this section out of Zwolle and then the route down from the Brocken to Chiasso. The map here shows our filming locations. We managed to catch up with 99234 once more as it departed the junction at Zwolle. Number 7232, which had taken out the first train of the day, has returned from the Brocken and had run around its train, and is seen departing with one of the regular shuttle services between here and the summit. There is a through steam haul train from Nordhausen, leaving at 10:24. It arrives here just after midday. Number 7239 is the loco in charge. The engine quickly returns with the 11:55 Wernigerode to Eisfelder Talmühl service. One more departure now before we move on. This is number 7241 with the 12:46 from Dreiannenhohe to the Brocken. At the station, 7247 arrives from Wernigerode on a train up to the Brocken. The date is the 11th of July 2019. Once at Brocken, the loco runs around its train. Services arrive in a constant stream throughout the day. The station here lies at an altitude of 1129 metres above sea level, and the weather up here can be very different from lower down the mountain slopes. The forests on the Brocken have been severely hit by acid rain, which has killed vast swathes of trees. On top of this, many are now being subjected to the deadly attacks of the bark beetle, which is killing many of the other trees that had survived the acid rain problem. As a result, the line's boundary has been cleared of rotten dead wood that may potentially fall onto the tracks during winter storms. Another view from the path down from the summit, which runs alongside the railway, is of number 7241, tackling the climb. The same locomotive is captured on film once again, this time at Chiasso station on the 2nd of June 2019 with the 1246 3,5 to the Brocken. Finally, just around the bend, it is the turn of 99234, with the 1325 Wernigerode to the Brocken. The loco slips on the greasy rails. The Netherlands is our next stop in the programme, where we take a look at passenger traffic on one of the last routes where Class 1700 electrics were used on local stopping services. The line chosen is the route linking Utrecht with Zwolle, with our locations close to the latter. We'll also look at other train types used on services along this line. The map here shows our main filming locations around the towns of Hattemerbroek and Wezep. We begin at Hattemerbroek, which is just a couple of kilometres to the west of Zwolle, as this pair of ICM 4200 units, numbers 4203 and 4232, form the 1018 from Groningen to Rotterdam. Class DDZ 7500 4-car electric units are rebuilds of Class 7800s dating from the 1990s. This unit is powered by motor coach number 2813 on the rear. Some of the local services were formed of DDM-1 and DDAR sets operated by Class 1700 locos. Here 1733 heads the 1018 service from Utrecht. This was followed by Class 7600 6-car set on the 1005 from Rotterdam Central. The 1046 from Leeuwarden to Rotterdam Central passes west with 4076, 4085 and 4050. These Plan Z units, built in the 1980s and 1990s, are the next class that are destined for withdrawal over the coming years. A little further west, and this pair of Plan Z 3-car sets, formed by 4075 and 4032, work the 1118 Groningen to Rotterdam. These services run hourly in each direction. This stretch of line between Utrecht and Hattemerbroek was opened on the 20th of August 1863, with the final stretch into Zwolle opening on the 6th of June 1864. It is often known as the Centraal Spoorweg. 1763 is on the rear of the 1223 local service from Zwolle to Utrecht. Dutch Railways withdrew the Class 1700s on these services on the 14th of December 2019, with just 10 remaining in traffic to cover the Amsterdam to Berlin intercity services to and from Bad Bentheim. Moving west, and we are not far from Weesp, where these 4-car ICM Plan Z units pass by the camera, forming the 1146 from Leeuwarden to Rotterdam. This line is a good one on which to see these units at work. Our final few scenes come from the station at Weesp, where passengers await the arrival of locomotive number 1740 on the 1218 from Utrecht to Zwolle. The Class 1700s were built by Alstom between 1990 and 1994, with a build total of 81 locomotives. They were a modernised version of the Class 1600, which were built for operations in the Netherlands between 1981 and 1983. Both classes owe their pedigree to the SNCF Class 7200s, on which they are largely based. The first Class 1700s were taken out of traffic in 2010 due to lack of work. It was the beginning of the end for this series of locomotive. (1732) is ready to depart in the other direction, working the 1323 Zwolle to Utrecht. Finally, it is the turn of 4214 and 4068 to conclude our look at what can now be regarded as heritage traction, forming the 1205 Rotterdam to Leeuwarden. Another country where classic rail traction is changing as a result of the introduction of new rolling stock is France. In this part of the programme, we look at the main rail line between Rouen and the port of Le Havre to the northwest of Paris. The section of line covered is from the junction at Braut-Beuzeville, focusing on Motteville before finishing at the impressive viaduct at Barentin, not far from Rouen. The map here shows the various locations visited. The majority of services seen along the route are passenger services to and from Rouen and Paris to Le Havre. There are also a number of freight services that use the route on their way to the various industrial locations around the port. Crossing the 524-metre-long Meyerville Viaduct, which was built in 1844, is locomotive number 37022, on a container train bound for the port. This location is around 1 kilometre from Braut station. Having just left the station platforms is Class Z26500 unit number 26625, working the 959 from Le Havre to Paris Saint-Nazaire. These semi-fast services generally operate every 2 hours in each direction. A good view of the Merville Viaduct can be had on the south side of the tracks. Heading west is BB 15000 electric, number 15036, on the 0853 from Paris to Le Havre. New units are set to replace these locomotives during 2020, beginning first on the Paris to Cherbourg line. We head east to the small country station at Foucart. Most of the intercity trains are formed of push-pull operated stock, with the Class 15000 electrics providing the power on all trains. The date is the 27th of September 2018, and 15054 powers this, the 1159 from Le Havre to Paris. Note the use of double-deck stock on this service. The 225-kilometre line was opened west of Rouen in 1847 and was built by two British contractors under the direction of British engineer Joseph Locke. 15034 is the next to appear on the 1049 ex-Paris. Moving east a few kilometres and we are at this overbridge just north of Alvimar, as Z26500 unit, number 26627, heads west at 1630 hours with the 1415 from Paris. An oil refinery and associated chemical works provide several trains a day conveying bulk liquid products. 27113 heads east with this tank train at just after 6 p.m. This was followed by 15022. (15061) flashes by in the opposite direction. A pair of 73500 diesel units head east on a train to Rouen from Fécamp. 27157 followed just 10 minutes later. « 15061 is on the rear of the 1959 from Le Havre to Paris. Le Havre is just 29 minutes away by train from our current location. Our final scene at this spot shows 15042 heading towards the setting sun with the 1850 service from Paris. We are now just west of Motteville, shown here where our three locations are grouped together. We will then move southeast to our final two destinations in this section. The station itself lies just before the junction, where the freight-only line to Montéruler, which avoids Rouen, peels off from the main tracks to Paris. Arriving at the station is Z27500 unit number 27668, working a service from Ouvreton to Elbeuf-Saint-Aubin, to the south of Rouen. These all-station stopping services now provide a regular hourly departure throughout the day. Almost catching us out is 15041. Sister locomotive number 15042 heads the other way. The junction begins just the other side of the bridge as the tracks begin to separate out. If you intend to visit this line before the Class BB 15000s are replaced, then 2 full days is recommended, so that you witness a good variety of traffic. 15031 rounds the bend on its way from Paris. We are at a point where the freight line branches off from the Paris route. Z27527 passes the camera on a local service to Utrecht on the 23rd of May 2019. (27167) gives us no warning when hauling this southbound container train. With regards to the different liveries worn by the Class BB 15000s, this is our favourite. Number 15022 is resplendent in the red and grey Grand Confort colours. Catching a freight on the branch was difficult, but we just managed this shot of 27144. This is the 1648 Paris to Le Havre intercity service headed by 15051. The Class 15000s were built by Alstom and delivered between 1971 and 1978 with a class total of 65, with 47 now in service. Moving south around 9 kilometres, we come to the local station at Pavie. Arriving from the south, we see Z27540, calling with a local service for Uveton. Lastly, we are next to the impressive Barenton Viaduct. This structure was built during 1846 by engineer Thomas Brassey. The 30-metre high viaduct collapsed during construction when bad mortar used in the building of it failed during excessive rainfall. This was subsequently changed, and the rebuilt 474-metre long bridge remains in use today. Heading north is 15042. Finally, this scene taken from a retail park to the south shows a Le Havre to Paris service headed by an unidentified class 15,000. We return to Chiasso now, as we conclude our look at the main line down from Lugano to the Italian border. The map here shows the various locations chosen around the area. In this part we concentrate on the 3 locations in and around the freight yards. The date is the 17th of July 2019, and we are at the western edge of Chiasso, just a stone's throw from the country's border. This is the main freight route for wagon load traffic into and out of Switzerland from Italy. Our first view shows 483008, arriving from the south. This loco was introduced into traffic in November 2007, and is one of the variants of the type used exclusively in Italy. Belonging to Alpha Trains, it is on long-term hire to DB Cargo Italia. Bombardier Trax Electric, number 484014, was the next to appear from the Italian side. The loco was delivered to SBB Cargo in December 2004 and has spent a couple of short-term hires out to private companies, such as Captrain, before being leased out to SBB International from late 2014 onwards. In 2007, it was one of 6 machines hired out to the passenger consortium Cisalpino, where it was involved in hauling Eurocity trains between Bern and Milano. These were later taken over by ETR 610 tilting trainsets. It received its Chem Oil transfers in 2017. In 2007, Italian FNM Group ordered 8 Class 483 electrics for its freight division, Nord Cargo. In September 2008, DB Schenker took a 49% stake in the company, and since then the locos have operated under the company's new name of DB Cargo Rail Italia Services. You can expect 1 or 2 freight trains along this line each hour. It includes examples of the Italian state-run railway, such as in this example of 652079. This is the main locomotive depot at Chiasso and is used primarily for the various freight locos that visit the area. The main line runs behind the shed, where we have this Vectron locomotive on a refrigerated train bound for Oenzingen. Just to the northwest, between the main arrival and departure yard and the main sorting sidings, we are able to get some good views of the local action. This rake of DB wagons is being shunted over the hump, the shunter uncoupling the wagons according to onward destinations. This is 841037. 11616 and 685 have detached from their train and make their way towards the depot. They entered the yard via the loop line which we highlighted earlier on, looking down from the hill at Berlin. Coming off the loop line, we see 11273 and 11631 on this freight from Basel. Finally, it is the turn of 185, 103 and 121 to enter the yard from the north. As the train disappears from view, we would like to thank you for watching this edition of European Railway.